the Chief of Staff to Mr. President, Femi Gbajabiamila, is ushered into the Senate's plenary session to present President Tinubu's list of ministerial nominees.
Reading taken.
President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, then proceeds to call out the 28 names of the ministers designate as contained in the executive communication.
Of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, I am pleased to forward to the Senate for confirmation the underlisted 28 ministerial nominees. 1. Abubakar Momo, Ambassador Yusuf Maitama Choka, CON. 3. Architect Ahmad Dangiwa. 4. Barrister Hanatu Musawa. 5. Chief Uche Naji. 6. Dr. Beta Edu.
Reacting to the content of President Tinubu's ministerial nominees, lawmakers commend the president for meeting the deadline. However, they say the screening of the nominees would not be business as usual.
I believe that by this weekend we'll have the CVs, but I'm personally pleased with the caliber of men and women that have been nominated. But we can only conclude when we screen them. And if we find them worthy, why not? We'll confirm them. If we don't find them worthy, we're not going to confirm them.
Our business is to screen them, and then those who will be able to pass our screening should take a bow.
All these names you submitted, what are they going to do? Let's not approve people to become ministers, and we take square pegs and put in round holes. We want to match them with their capacities.
The Senate has a tradition that if you were once a senator, you would have been screened to become a senator, and so that suffices. But in any case, it doesn't stop any senator from asking the relevant questions where it becomes necessary.
At the nick of time, President Bola Tinubu's ministerial list got to the National Assembly, but the wait is not over yet as more names will be sent in due course. Also, the ball is now in the court of the Senate to screen these ministers and allow President Tinubu inaugurate the Federal Executive Council. TVC News, Abuja.
Let's take a short break and I'll be right back. Please stay with us. Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. This is Politics Tonight, where we dig beyond the headlines. And while we'll wait for Libras Oshoma for discussion on President Tinubu's ministerial list to the National Assembly, let's move to our second guest of the day, who is the Commissioner for Information in Jigawa State, Sagil Musa Ahmed, for discussion on the first 2 months of the state's governor, Umar Namadi. Thank you very much for joining us, Honorable.
Thank you. How are you today?
I'm very fine. Thank you so much. It's been 2 months of the administration of Governor Umar Namadi in Jigawa State. How will you describe the journey so far?
Thank you for having me. And I want to say, as far as Jigawa State is concerned, the citizens of Jigawa State are quite happy and satisfied with the steps of His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Jigawa State.
So what impacts will you say the administration has made on the state?
I can confidently tell you, as far as Jigawa State is concerned, I am proud to say that His Excellency have recorded a number of success from the inauguration. To date, Jigawa State have witnessed unprecedented development in virtually every sector of the state, and the government have set the stage for giving a stronger and sounder administration in Jigawa State.
Many states have complained about meeting empty treasury by past administration. I would like you to tell us the situation in Jigawa State.
So far, I can confidently tell you, as far as the Jigawa State government is concerned, as you know, naturally, when any administration comes to an end, there are a lot of obligations, and many states have experienced that. But so far, so good, despite everything in Jigawa State, the change of government did not disrupt any government business. All obligation expected of the state government had been adequately. In fact, before the coming of this administration, you find that state government normally pays salary at the 25th of every month, and at the same time, local government come around 30th. But now in Jigawa State, both local government and state government receive their salary on time at 25th of every month. So that is quite good for Jigawa State. And all the contract obligations have not stopped in Jigawa State. Virtually all the ongoing projects of the past administration are concurrently going in the state, and there's no problem so far.
All right, so from what we know, the governor is trying to block leakages and has called on past government officials to return looted funds. What has been achieved in this regard?
I think I have heard you. The governor is trying to do what everybody knows about Jigawa State. When you look at the ICANN, Index Accountability, Jigawa State has been rated as the first state among the 36 of the Federation. So therefore, when His Excellency come, he decided not to stay at the sideline, try to do all he could to ensure that Jigawa State maintain its position in accountability and transparency. So in doing that, there are a lot of interpretation. People look at it in their different dimensions, but I can tell you categorically what the governor is doing is trying to ensure that Jigawa State have maintained its position in accountability and transparency. And on top of that, if you follow the history of Jigawa State, the current governor was one time Governor of Finance in Jigawa State from 2015 to 2019, and he has worked so hard to ensure that Jigawa State have a very good, sound financial discipline under the last administration of Governor Muhammadu Badri. So being in place now as the governor of Jigawa State, you have to do whatever possible for him to ensure that Jigawa State have a much stronger. All over the world, when you look at the economy, all over around the world, there's a lot of issues. When you look at what happened in Nigeria with the increment of oil price in the country, so many things are going. So he is doing his best to ensure that he strengthens the financial sector of Jigawa State to be able to give the administration the background and necessary capacity to be able to shoulder the responsibility of the government business and at the same time provide the dividend of democracy to our people across the 27 local government of the state. So what he is trying to do is to strengthen the financial capacity of the government to be able to shoulder its responsibility.
All right, so what has been achieved in this regard, and have people been returning these looted funds?
As far as I'm concerned, what I'm telling you, what the governor is doing is not that he is trying to go and collect people from money that were taken by people. He is trying to ensure that in running government business, a proper stage has been put in place that can be able to allow the state to emerge stronger. So far, there is no any committee that is collecting money from anybody as far as last administration is concerned. The present administration for the government to run a history of the state, we are inherent in the state government, and at the same time, the pension fund of the state is also taking some kind of improvement to ensure that we strengthen that sector to enable the state government to carry out its obligation. There's no incidence of any collecting money from anybody in the past administration that loot or something like that.
Okay. The immediate past governor of the state, speaking of Abubakar Badaru, has been nominated as a minister by President Tinubu. What's your view on this?
Exactly. I think it is a very good development. Looking at the contribution of the Jigawa State in the last presidential election, Jigawa State has been one of the states that contributed tremendously to the success of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's success into the presidency. So I think the governor deserves to be appointed in the cabinet to continue to contribute to the development of this country beyond Jigawa State. He's a critical stakeholder in the last administration, and now he has been selected by President Tinubu or nominated as ministerial nominee to be able to contribute to the national development of the country. I think it is good, and everybody is overwhelming Jigawa State. I'm quite happy with this nomination. It's a plus to the state, and we're quite grateful.
All right, so how will you describe the relationship between Governor Namadi and his predecessor, Badaru?
You see, the relationship between Governor Badaru and present governor of Jigawa State, Malam Umar Nabadu, has been cordial. This is somebody who served at the capacity of Commissioner of Finance. This is somebody who served at the capacity of Deputy Governor in the second tenure of Governor Muhammad Badr Abubakar. And he has been selected to be the candidate for APC in 2023 presidential election. And yet, as far as the relationship between the two, it still remains intact, and it is cordial, and they are partners in progress. So there's cordial relationship between them.
All right. So about 12 of the commissioners of Governor Namadi worked on the immediate past administration, and people see this as too much influence by the former governor on the administration. How will you react to this?
I can categorically tell you I'm one of the people that served in the past administration under Governor Muhammad Badr Abubakar. And being a deputy governor at that time, that's His Excellency Governor Umar Namadi, had the privilege to interact with virtually all members of the cabinet being a deputy governor. So he has identified potential from the past administration, and he has injected new hands in the administration so that they can be able to put heads together to take Jigawa to the next level. When you look at the selection, I think about 5 of us or 6 are back in the present administration, and we have about 10 new hands in the cabinet, and that will give the opportunity to share experiences and to be able to work together harmoniously to be able to improve the administration of Governor Malam Umar Namadi in Jigawa State. That I can tell you categorically is an attempt to be able to at least inject new hands in the government and also look at the competence of other people that have contributed in the previous administration to add value to the present administration, having identified the potential of each and every nominee from the previous administration. I think it's a good one.
Governor Namadi has made unscheduled visits to state institutions. I would like you to tell us more about the impact of these on the states.
I can tell you the aggressive effort by the new governor of Jigawa State reach out to various institutions at both federal and international level has been quite successful. I can tell you categorically, when you look at the engagement, it's quite overwhelming. In fact, His Excellency personally frequented Abuja, and he had several meetings with international organizations, various agencies at the federal government level. Part of this engagement, there's partnership between agencies in Abuja that come to Jigawa State to be able to see how we can harness the abundant natural resources in Jigawa State to be able to create opportunity for Jigawa State to emerge stronger in areas of industrial development. And at the same time, there's collaboration between Jigawa State government, notable organizations in Abuja. I can tell you, like Bank of Industry, have presence in about 36 states, 30 states in Nigeria. Only 6 states that they don't have presence. As a result of this engagement, they are coming to Jigawa State to set up a state office where they can be able to contribute to the development of the state. So in so many areas, there are collaborations in power sector, agriculturally wise. In fact, Qatar is also coming to Jigawa State. A number of partners are coming to Jigawa State. German government is also partnering with Jigawa State. In fact, I can tell you categorically, the outcome of those engagements is quite overwhelming, and Jigawa State is really positioned to take a lot in terms of development from all this engagement.
All right, so let's talk about some of the potentials in that state. Let's start with agriculture, which is central to the economy of Jigawa State. About 80% of the population is centered on farming and animal husbandry. What's the government doing to develop this sector?
Interestingly, I can have really position itself to take its rightful position. We have a lot of potentials in terms of agriculture. And one thing that I can tell you, Jigawa State government is doing a lot to expand in terms of agriculture. when you look at the incident that happened during flood in Jigawa State last year, it has really affected our capacity to contribute to the agricultural sector in Nigeria. To ensure that agriculture has really taken its rightful place in Jigawa State, the present administration have done well in terms of taking experience from what happened last year to enable Jigawa State farmers to be able to actually perform and engage in agricultural activities in the state. There's an effort by the present administration to ensure that there is a proper river drainage along the Hadija Valley. About 41 kilometers have been dredged in that part of the Hadija Valley, and there's serious embankment taking place to ensure that our farmers have the opportunity to farm these kilometers. There is a serious embankment that happened to prevent flood from affecting farmers. And when you look at another area that will enable our farmers to emerge stronger, is the policy of His Excellency of giving a kind of subsidy, about 40% for whoever there is a petty farmer across Jigawa State. That has been very successful.
Are you done, Honorable Sagir?
A lot of subsidy has been provided in that area, about 40%. Hello?
I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yes, that's what I'm telling you. In terms of agriculture, these are some of the initiatives, and many more things have been carried out so far in the state. And I can inform you, just yesterday, the first executive council has been taking place, and commissioners are out there to see how they can be able to passion out comprehensive implementation strategy framework that will enable His Excellency to actualize his potential in bringing Jigawa to the rightful position of improving agriculture across the state.
All right, so let's talk about the impact of flooding. How far has the governor gone in addressing this? Honorable, did you get my question?
I think in agriculture in the state, the flood incident in Jigawa State in 2022 was quite unprecedented. As a result of that, adequate measures has been set by the previous administration, and now the present administration is consolidating on that effort. What happened immediately after the flood? There was two committees set up by His Excellency. One is a technical committee to identify the actual issues that result to flooding in Jigawa State. And there's also another committee that was set to alleviate the suffering of our farmers and Jigawa State indigents that have been affected by those floods of 2022. So put together, coming to this year as a result of recommendation made by various committees set under the technical committee, His Excellency have identified the need for us to be able to adequately dredge the Hadija Valley, which is the source of major flooding in Jigawa State. And I have told you categorically, about 41 kilometers have been dredged in that Hadija Valley. And there is serious embankment taking place along the riverbank, which I said about 140 kilometers have been covered, covering about 50 communities around Jigawa State that had been affected by the flood. So that have prepared Jigawa State to be able to expand tremendously in providing necessary measures that can curtail the excess of flooding in case of flood happening in 2023.
All right. So as one of the educationally disadvantaged states in the country, what is the administration doing to improve the sector?
Interestingly, I can tell you the present administration under Governor Malam Umar Ramadi have taken adequate measures to ensure that education has been improved greatly in Jigawa State. When you look at the appointment of commissioners, this time around we have 2 commissioners in Ministry of Education, where we have identified the need to have a basic education commissioner, and at the same time we have a higher education commissioner. This is to be able to strengthen all measures that will enhance teaching and learning in Jigawa State across all levels. So there are going to be now 2 commissioners in education sector to improve the educational environment in Jigawa State.
All right, so, earlier we talked about flooding, but now let's, make it broader. Environmental degradation, and that's especially desertification and flooding is a big challenge in Jigawa State. What strategies are in place to tackle this?
So as far as environmental degradation is concerned, as I told you, during the electioneering campaign, His Excellency have about 12 agendas which he set to achieve. And when you look at the inauguration of His Excellency, he have made very elaborate speech during his inauguration about 56 commitment to our state, to a slogan of the government, which is popularly known as Greater Jigawa. His Excellency is doing his best to ensure that there is a comprehensive plan that will enable Jigawa State to emerge stronger in virtually every sector. And environment is central to everything because everything happens in an environment. And there are various committees that have been set in place, and there are a lot of collaboration between the state government and the federal government. Even international partners are coming. The World Bank has a project that Jigawa State will key in to see that it emerges stronger in areas of building stronger and sounder system that can enable us to improve in our environment. As we progress, this policy has been developed. We are in the process of harmonizing and ensure that we bring that to the public to be able to see what Jigawa State government is doing to improve environmental degradation in the state.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Segiru Musa Ahmed, Commissioner for Information in Jigawa State. Thank you so much for coming on the program tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and my best wishes to a wonderful team at TVC.
All right, let's take another short break, and when we return, it will be time to speak with our first guest of the day, who is a lawyer and advocate for good governance, justice, and equity, Libras Oshoma, for discussion on President Tinubu's ministerial list to the National Assembly. Please stay with us.
In the month of July, on the 2nd of July, the global community celebrates World Sport Journalists' Day. The 5th of July is the first anniversary of the Kuje prison attack when some Boko Haram insurgents escaped. The 7th of July marks 25 years since the winner of the June 12, 1993 presidential election, MK Abiola, died. His death occurred in 1998. 11th of July is World
Welcome back. You're still watching Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. And now to our interview with the guest of the day. I am joined by a lawyer, an advocate for good governance, justice, and equity, Libras Oshoma, for discussion on President Tinubu's ministerial list to the National Assembly. Thank you for joining us tonight, sir.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
So the much-awaited ministerial list is out. What's your reaction?
They said, blessed are those who are not expectant, for they shall not be disappointed. A lot of people have asked me my expectation on the list, and I had consistently maintained that I wasn't expecting anything, considering the fact that elections are not yet over, figuratively, because there are still matters at the tribunal, and this election was fought hard. For the first time in a long while, you saw a three-horse race in an election, and we saw synergy alliances, between, opposition parties having to support one another. So you don't expect, the ministerial list to just come out and then have, what you call technocrats. It definitely would be a mixture of politicians and, a little to the right, a little to the left. What former governor of Rivers State, Wike, used to call Ihedeba, Ihedeba. And so, true to type, it is really Ihedeba, Ihedeba. And so, I'm not surprised because some people have said, oh, imagine a Wike, for example, if his name was not on that list. a lot of people would have taunted him, you know. So all the people that support what also there are allegations that there might be a rerun. You don't expect politicians not to prepare for eventuality, plan A, plan B, plan C. So those people that supported you in the election, who were former governors, definitely you also would want to have an inclusive, government. You want to have them by your side in the event, because they still maintain the structures in their various states, in the event that anything happens. And so for the first 2 years, certainly you are going to see, a blend of politicians and technocrats, and then gradually, you now begin to see a realliance, and then, so it's not new. The only challenge I have is that I had expected, typical of Nigeria, I had expected a departure, because when Bola Ahmed Tinubu and APC, SPN specifically, were in opposition, they had consistently criticized the PDP for not assigning portfolios to ministerial nominees, so that during screening, it becomes easy to screen a minister. But unfortunately, it is the same thing, just send names there. And then I know I can give you 5 names that will take a bow and go. And then also, so what questions are you going to ask them? Generic questions. Sing the national anthem. And so because portfolios are not assigned. So those are just basically my challenge.
All right, so as promised by the president, and like you also said earlier, the list is a mixture of career politicians and technocrats. How will you describe that, and what does this mean for governance?
Yeah, I have said it. These career politicians, these are former governors. They've been governors at their various states. So they understand governance. They know, even though in Nigeria, governance seems to be far from the people. Now, especially with hardship and the fact that the government is removing its hand from a lot of subsidies that they are hitherto provided, you will need politicians to be able to hold down, their various states, those politicians, those former governors that have been there. So some of them, performed creditably well when they were governors. Governor Mahi, for example, give him kudos. Even Wiki hates him or love him to a very large extent. Also, he provided road infrastructure in his states. So all of this, he's been a minister for state for education. He's a governor. So you would say he also understands the terrain, the political terrain that he wants to play in. So this is, immediately after election, like I said, for governance generally, what basically Nigerians need now, the implication of all of this is that you need people who will be able to galvanize, the various discordant voices together, who should be able to, act as pillars or bridges across board, and who would be able to bring, people together. Apart from just being, solving the economic problems, you also need, people who will be able to reach out to their persons, and who will be a voice, in the various states, because the president can be everywhere. So, and that will go a long way, because governance is about the people. Because basically what I see play out in Nigeria is that there's so much cry, there's so much, complaint, even from amongst people who are not suffering. Everybody's complaining. Imagine National Assembly saying, let the poor breathe. And imagine National Assembly taking 70 billion from palliative fund, if that had gone through. So these are people who ordinarily shouldn't be complaining. You also see them complaining. So you need, politicians also, apart from technocrats, you also need politicians who would be able to reach out and play politics at the various states, for you. Why you need a mixture of technocrats to carry out your goals and mission, which is basically not too difficult to do if truly we want to work.
All right. So this list came less than 2 days to the constitutional deadline. What does this tell us about governance in Nigeria?
A whole lot, because what ordinarily left to a president or a governor, drawing up a list of commissioners or ministers shouldn't be a big deal. They already have idea of people they would want to work with. That is why you see it is usually very not difficult for them to appoint their aides, special advisors, senior special assistants, and the rest. But when it comes to ministerial lists or commissionership, a lot of interest are at stake. You want to try as much as you can, to carry a lot of people along, while at the same time striking a balance with delivering dividends of democracy. So you want those people that have worked, because in this part of the world, government appointments are like compensation for people that have worked for you. So it is like come and chop. That's why you hear of juicy and non-juicy portfolios. So you want to strike a balance. There'll be horse trading, or like Obasanjo's time, you give up opportunity to governors to nominate, people, especially when the governors are perceived to be on ground. So when that happens, you see back and forth. But it is good that we have a time limit within which to present the list, because you can have a president that wants to hit the ground running, but because of conflicting interests that he wants to carry as much people as he can along, all of this will slow down, appointing his cabinet. But it is good that we have a time limit within which to do all of that. But the bad thing is that even when the time limit is not meant, nothing, there are no consequences for it. But it is good, but we should try as much as we can to de-emphasize this compensation, appointment for compensation, appointment for compensation. It removes the beauty of having to serve the people. It's no longer about service, but about distribution of largesse. Because you want to serve, if it's about work, then we will not be so expectant of a ministerial list, who is going to be on the list, who will be compensated, who worked, who didn't work. It will be about service. It will be about work. It will be about, look at when the Prime Minister of Great Britain was, elected by his colleagues. In that same day, he already appointed people who he wants to work with, because it's about service, it's about work, and not about compensation. But here, because it's about compensation, you begin to hear, oh, he didn't work with us, or he's not loyal. You remember when Saraki, I forgot the name of the journalist, that, the Senate president appointed as, a chief press secretary. The APC people kicked against it. That this guy didn't work for us during the election. Even when Itodo, the budget guy, was appointed by Minister for State for Budget in the last administration, a lot of people complained he didn't work for us. So here, people see these things as opportunity to feather their nest, opportunity to reap where they have sown. And that's why the list will consistently be a mixture of politicians and technocrats. That word is heavy for me, technocrats, really. And we need to move away from it, seriously, and focus more. Let's have a list that will be 80% of people, competent people who are truly ready to serve, and maybe 20% politicians. But we, the people, we are the cause. Because even before the list came out, a lot of people were already taunting Wike, is that the best they could give to him, or despite all he did? It was as if, if he doesn't get a ministerial appointment, it's a shame. Amechi got.
Are you there, Mr. Libros? All right, I've been speaking with Libros Oshoma, a lawyer and advocate for good governance. Tonight, we're looking at President Tinubu's ministerial list to the National Assembly. All right, let's take a short break and I'll be right back. Just stay with us.
TVC News first with breaking news.
We cover the big political stories in Nigeria, but people want more than just politics.
Business news, sports naturally, but you need news to live by also.
Stories about education, health, personal finance, and hey, even lifestyle news.
Newspaper reviews, travel news, and much more.
Nigeria, it's more than just politics. It's life.
Start your day with us every weekday.
TVC News Breakfast. First, fast, balanced, and accurate.
TVC News First, with breaking news.
Welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us. This is Politics Tonight, where we dig beyond the headlines. And I've been speaking with a lawyer, an advocate for good governance, justice and equity, Libros Oshoma. And in the past few minutes, we've been discussing President Tinubu's ministerial list to the National Assembly. All right, so with the benefit of hindsight, how would you describe the Constitution, or rather the Constitutional amendment that provides time limit for nomination of ministers by the President?
Yeah, like I was saying, I think it is good. Yeah, because if you leave it open-ended, it gives room a lot of, because as a president, no matter how well you prepare a list, immediately after elections are done, there's going to be a lot of pressure from different angles. Who wants to be on the list? Who will not want to be on the list? Those people that served, those that didn't serve. Because we also see political power as opportunity to compensate and not opportunity to work. Unlike in other climes, because it is work, it is service, nobody is expecting compensation. So anybody can be appointed. But here, because we see it as compensatory, so there's going to be a lot of horse trading, a lot of pressure. And if you allow it, it can sometimes take 1 year. Ministers are not appointed. So it is good that you have a time limit for it. But unfortunately, if that time limit is not met, nothing happens. That's where the challenge is.
All right. So are you advocating that there should be a repercussion for that?
Yes, there should be penalty. That if there should be something to, encourage, to limit all of this pressure. Because I can tell you, almost every state governor will be on the president's leg. Almost every stakeholder wants something, wants to have a minister. And that's why you have these bogus ministers, at least one from each federation, even when, like Festus Keyamo has said, even when Minister for State, it's almost a redundant portfolio. But because it is compensatory, so there should be penalties, so that the president also will be under pressure to meet that deadline.
All right. So the president is yet to exhaust the names for ministerial nominees. What other options has it got to beat the deadlines?
The deadline did not say, the law didn't say he must meet all of the names that same day. The president can start with, 10, 15 ministers, key ministers. And as you go, you begin to, where you feel the need, you begin to bring in, one after the other. It's not, the law didn't say that he must appoint all of them, on the same day. So we should also consistently de-emphasize, this idea of, political positions must be for compensation. So once we de-emphasize that, there won't be need to have ministers from every state. This idea of having one minister from every state. There are other parastatals and boards to be filled. There are a lot of appointments, if it's about service. So you can have, few key ministers. The most important thing is delivery of service. And once service is delivered, nobody really want to care whether a minister comes from their state or not.
So let's quickly talk about the list. Do you have any surprise regarding the names?
No, like I said at the beginning, blessed are those who are not expectant, for they shall not be disappointed. I am not expectant of any surprise. Like I maintain consistently, the only disappointment I have is that Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as an opposition leader, had advocated that ministers' portfolios should be attached to ministerial nominees, so that, I remember his party then, not him in person, his party had advocated that portfolios should be attached to names of nominees, so that it will aid screening at the National Assembly. But unfortunately, it is still same of the same. And I know the supporters of the party will say the constitution didn't say you must attach them. But even if the constitution didn't say so, but it helps for transparency, it helps also for competence and to aid screening. So that when you're going to screen, if for example they say this commissioner would look at what Kaduna State government did. All the commissioner, their names were sent and with portfolios attached. The constitution didn't say that. So we could have done the same thing at the federal also. So that we now begin, even the court of public opinion, like where you and I are now, can begin to look at the competence of these people as against the portfolios that they are merged with. And the expectations of people in that sector, they begin to analyze it, oh, the minister that is coming, what to expect, the challenges, and not we'll have another waiting period again now where the National Assembly will take a bow and go. I can tell you, all the governors there will take a bow and go. And at the end of the day, they will not begin to wait for portfolios to be appointed. The waiting game is too long.
All right, so having gone through the names on that list, how confident are you about the ability of the nominees to help the president deliver on his renewed hope agenda?
First and foremost is, do I have renewed hope in the president to deliver on the promises he has made? I have not seen a structural departure from what is. It is when the president, I have hope and trust in the president's renewed hope. And that's when I will now say, yes, the drivers of his hope would be able to deliver. I have not seen a departure. Even the president, as an opposition leader, I was one of those people who had followed his party closely, ACN and all the ideologies, the Awolowo's ideology and principles that they, consistently espoused, restructuring, all of those ones have been taken off the top burner. How do you develop Nigeria with this same behemoth, the filibuster system of government that we are operating? You bring in ministers, it's going to be business as usual. You do the little you can, build a few good roads here and there, make money here and there, and at the end of the day, but will governance trickle down to the local level? We have not strengthened local government, we have not strengthened the state government. So it will just be, a few good things. So I really don't believe that it's about delivering on renewed hope. The ministers are just administrative heads of various ministries and agencies. Is it different? Is it going to be different the way they have operated? The answer is no. So I do not see any new thing, and I don't see a departure, except they surprise me. And I want, and I pray, and I hope that they should surprise me. And the only way they can do that is to truly take governance from the bottom to the top. And that's where you and I can feel it. And then I won't have to bother about who become ministers, but more about who become my supervisory counselor.
All right. So let's quickly talk about gender balance. To what extent will you say he conformed to that?
So far, I had expected, let me tell you the truth, I've been an advocate of women empowerment, and but unfortunately, like they say, women are their own enemy. In the APC, in the campaign of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, starting from there, I have not seen, the few women that have stood out during the campaign. I've seen them also being, let me use the word, I don't want to use the word compensated. Adiza Bala Usman, is in the cabinet already as a special advisor. The women leader is on the list also, and there was the name of this other woman. So I really do not see a balance. But when you juxtapose it with the women that were at the forefront of the campaign, you would say that those that have been at the forefront of the campaign, yes, largely, you still see them, being replicated in the list and in the appointments so far. You have a lot, you have more male-dominated campaign than the women. I think the women should play more key roles in politics. And like I told you earlier, politics here is about compensatory. So you don't expect, because the president wants gender balance, you should just go and bring, you have a list of 28. bring 14 women, 14 men, because even when you don't have, those women that worked with you, that you have been with for the past 1 year. So that's the challenge. So I would encourage them, a lot of them, to play more key role, so that when we push for women inclusiveness, then you can off the tip of your hand, mention 20, 30 women that we are at the forefront during campaigns.
All right, so to wrap this up for tonight, the president has promised to deliver on his renewed hope agenda, and a lot of Nigerians believe that he will deliver. So what do you think Nigerians can do to help the nominees deliver?
It is what the nominees can do to help Nigerians believe that they will deliver. Nigerians are crying as I speak now. People are saying the government is too bogus. National Assembly, for example, despite all of the hardship, are going to buy vehicles, bulletproof vehicles for themselves. You see bogus retinue of aides. We want to see a lean ministry also, where the ministers do not also live ostentatious lifestyle, where you access to information in the ministry is, with a click of the finger. I don't have to go to Abuja to access payment for jobs done on the ministry. When we see all of these changes, and then this idea of having to jet out at every given opportunity, we also are not there, then people will begin to believe that indeed there is a departure, and that hope will now be renewed. Otherwise, as we speak, it's still a slogan. People are suffering from all of the challenges and the hardship of the subsidy removal, price increase, the fluctuation of the dollar. Yes, all of these are things that definitely will happen, but when you ask people to bear the suffering, bear the brunt, you also want to see government also believing that all of us should suffer, and so that there will be better hope. So it is not for the people to help the ministers, it is for the minister to help themselves, so that the people can believe that truly there will be a renewed hope.
All right. Thank you very much, Libros Oshoma, a lawyer and advocate for good governance, justice and equity. Thank you so much for always finding time to join us on Politics Tonight. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
My pleasure, always. My pleasure.
And thank you very much for watching. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But the conversation continues from here. Get in touch with us on Twitter at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunju. Goodbye.
The new Happic sachet. It has a thick formula, so all you need is just one sachet for your toilet bowl. It gives 10 times better cleaning and big savings too.
Wow, Helen!
Sparkling clean toilet with Happic sachet.
I am always thinking about your well-being, so when I learned that 7 out of 10 children in Nigeria are iron deficient and this slows their growth, affects learning, and can cause anemia, I got worried.
Mom is right. One sachet of Cerelac Junior with Iron Plus a day provides 50% of your child's daily iron need to support proper growth and learning.
That's reassuring.
Cerelac Junior with Iron Plus. It's all good, Mom.
If you want to become something, become a child again. Why be a patient? If you must worry, then worry about winning. Why worry about germs? When you come home, bring tales and stories. Why bring in germs?
Shield your families from germs. When Dettol is a part of every household bucket, then you and your family can stay protected from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Everyday use of Dettol keeps my loved ones protected.
Never miss a moment. Instant breaking news from all over the globe. Live streaming of your favorite programs delivered directly to you. Watch anytime from anywhere on your mobile or smart devices. Download the TVC News app today. Available on Google Play and Apple Store.
If you want to become something, become a child again. Why be a patient? If you must worry, then worry about winning. Why worry about germs? When you come home, bring tales and stories. Why bring in germs?
Shield your families from germs. When Dettol is a part of every household bucket, then you and your family can stay protected from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Everyday use of Dettol keeps my loved ones protected.
I'm your big fan too.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, brother.
Me, gun myself, I'm a rapper.
Is that so?
Any day, any weather, and I'm chilling with my main guy, Feda.
Alpha, network problem. Yes, well, got me. Let me turn on my hotspot.
It have got it.
You hop on 9 Mobile confirmed data. You can't be out here stranded in this street, so this guy.
When you're on 9 confirmed from 9 Mobile, you get a super gift of 1,000 naira just for